Audio is okay. This is EMBA which batch? That means second semester. Second first trimester. Okay, we started the last. Okay, I'm Sriram once again. I have close to around an MTech from IIT Bombay in computer close to 35 years of experience. So I've forgotten about all my educational qualification. It's very series of things brought me into an educational institution, which I started enjoying a bit. And afterwards, probably this is one thing which I enjoy, and that's why I'm here as an adjunct faculty. Otherwise, normally I consult with industries as my other aspect of it. In the field of my field is basically analytics. Initially, when I did my project in neural networks AI way back in 90s, people started asking me, even in the industries when I went for interview, okay, what is this? What use it's of to us and all that. Okay, so I was having real hard time to explain them that why this is important and all that. Now coming back to this, I was teaching basically IT strategy in the ITM specialization. Okay. We used to give the case studies. I think you might have all undergone some at least around 20 case studies by now. But no, sorry, in the first semester, right? By the time you come to the fourth semester, you would have gone through around 20 to 25 case studies. Each subject around 2-3 subjects, right? Around 15 subjects you will teach, so close to 50 case studies. One of the motivation for me to start this course was my frustration. Okay, especially in the last 2 years, in the pandemic age, when we used to evaluate the case studies. See, normally, if you don't know, okay, case studies around 45 marks will be there for the examination, and in the assignment it comes to around 50% of the weightage, and in the 2 assignments it is 50%. So close to 50% of your weightage is in the case studies, right? When we evaluate it, basically, suppose if this is your case study, 3 questions used to be asked. First question, people used to write this. Second question, people used to write this. Third question, people used to write this. My case study. Frustration, right? How frustrating it is. Given it fantastic, typed word copy, a printed copy is given to you, and you give it back to me saying that rewriting in your own handwriting. I have to understand the handwriting also. That was the frustration, right? All of you are experienced, right? And in spite of it, when it comes to case studies, there is not much of analysis was going on. Okay, this was basically, I shared it with the rest of all the faculty. Majority of the people felt that, yes, this is what they see. Absolutely, it is useless. Now, suppose if I give you a choice, you will either go through theory, only theory part, so-called theory, or you will only go through case studies. Which one you will prefer? Let's be honest. Which one you will prefer? Case studies you will prefer. Why? It's easy. Audio is very low. Hello. I'm not very comfortable wearing this. Okay now? Should be fine. Okay. So you all prefer case studies. Why? Because no need to study. The case appears here. Somewhere it may not be so bad. You find a question here, write 3 or 4 sentences below and above, below and above. You will somewhere find an answer, right? That's how we all answer. It's like in a GMAT paragraph or in an entrance examination paragraph. You go through it. Suddenly you go through the questions, keep questions in mind, second iteration, and immediately you get this You get this portion, answer it. Am I right? This is the smartest way of doing things. That's why we prefer case studies. I'll give you another analogy. You take a chemistry subject. It has theory and a lab. Suppose as per you forget the theory and go to the lab directly. Can you perform? You will start mixing two acids or two things, whatever is available, and see what comes out. Not possible, right? No. If this is the case for any science, for management, it is no different. Okay, all of you now prefer case studies. Have you undergone at least one or two case studies by now? Not classes not yet started. Not yet started. Okay, so then it's very good that your thinking will be fresh. Okay, so this is ridiculous, right? The theory, without theory, you come to the lab, you don't know what to do. It is no different in a management science. Okay, we have theory. Okay, and then case study is like a laboratory for you. That's how it should be treated. Otherwise, there is absolutely no use in having these case studies. There's absolutely no use in having these case studies. Okay, if that is the case, what is theory? Why is it useful? To tell you how this theory has come into being. Suppose if you give a thought to it, there are so many theories, so many books. This is the strategy, this is the financial management, this is the accounting system. There are so many theories which you are going to study, right? Who framed those theories? Any idea? In my class, if some of you are taking IT management or even today for the next 2 hours, there is no right or wrong answer as far as I am concerned, right? So please don't hesitate. Okay, speak whatever it comes to your mind. Because why are you worried when there is no right or wrong? Why to worry about it? Right? So please speak about it. Otherwise, this is very boring on Sunday at 2 o'clock. I have to now, it will be a monologue from me. Okay. So please let's make it interactive. And so question to this, what was my question? Who wrote the theories? Experts from the industry. Experts. Okay, how did they write it? Just with practical experience will it come? So they can write a story actually. How will they write the theory? Who wrote those journals into? Yes.
Understanding of the
Research.
concepts.
So what is research? Right. Okay, you are answering all the aspects of it. Right. Now, if you study, let us say experts like Porter. Actually, my system is giving me trouble, so I will have some issue with this. Okay, no problem. We'll share with this. I knew that would be a problem. Okay. Now we are talking about how the theories are formed. Now suppose you go through around 50 case studies, 1, etc., 50. Do you remember all these things? No, obviously not, right? You remember some of the case studies? May or may not. After 6 months, after 3 months, maybe 0. What experts do is when they study these case studies, they go through you will understand it in research methodologies. They will go through what's process of induction and come up with theories. They're all great thinkers. They're not like average or regular, or they're all very great thinkers. If they go through that, they know how to think about in a larger context. And then generalize this. When you say research, one of you said research. Okay, when you do some research, it has to be applicable at a general context. The generalization of the theory is very important, right? So and then they form what is called generalization, and they get into your textbooks. What we do through process of deduction, we deduce based on our experiences and come out with our findings, right? So the process of induction and the process of deduction. What you study from the textbook is basically you will apply to a particular case, your own organization. Let's take an example. For example, you have pen is always an issue. There's no pen. Okay. Now, suppose you're going to study about Porter's competitive framework, right? There are 5 elements to it. No pen. Just give me a second. Okay, so Porter's generic theory framework of competitive analysis basically contains 5 things. Okay, one is the power of buyers, right? And the other one is sorry, sir, I wanted some pens. Thank you, sir. Okay, this is the power of buyers and the power of suppliers. Sorry, I cannot write it. And here is, there are 2 more. This is the competition within the industry. These are the new entrants, and these are new technologies or disruptive technologies. There are 5 elements approximately. Now, in order to arrive at this, you would have taken around maybe around 50, 100, maybe around 100 case studies, right? So you are going to study this framework as a result of hundreds of case studies. So in order to understand, this is very easy for us to remember. For example, I wrote all the 5 elements. It's very easy to think. Suppose in your own organization, if you're now deriving competitive, what are the competitive forces in my industry? It's very easy to know power of buyers, power of suppliers, right? And new entrance to the industry. This is competition from within. And this is disruptive technologies, new technologies which come and disturb us. These are all the competitive forces. It's very easy to remember. Now, when you want to do it for your own industry, after MBA or you're a responsible person, I want to now understand who are my competitors? Where are my competitive forces? Why am I going down? Right? If you want to do this, you cannot do this with 50, 60 case studies in front of you. Right? You need this structure. So for us to understand, we human beings, we need structures. One of the reasons why case studies by themselves, it's not my own, it's even universities across, they have done this. Why we don't derive value out of these case studies, though we prefer because it is easy. This way it is very easy. Even if they give me 50 case studies, by the end of the day, if they can give me MBA, I can do it. Right or wrong? Will there be any value to you? If instead of 145 marks, instead of 100 marks, that's what I prefer. Okay, in each question, instead of 1 case study, I prefer 3 case studies. It's very easy to read and somehow write it. At the end of one month, I have not derived any value out of it. So problem across the universities, because there is no such structure. We know that it's a theory and a lab. Our case study is a lab. It is not something else. It's like science for us, right? And the case studies, there is no such structure for this. Every case study is different. How many of you play chess? In chess, basically, I'm not an expert. Maybe some of you are. Let us say at the 16th or 18th move of moves, right? Somebody says your coach says, sorry, c5 was a wrong move. You will never get to know this c5 in that particular position ever in your life, because the 10 to the power 27, that is the number of possible moves. Though you will not get anything, if your just coach says c4 to c5 was a wrong move, you shouldn't have done that. Will it add value to you? No. Case studies are much like that. It won't add any value to me unless there is a structure. Instead of saying c4 to c5, look, my friend, c4 to c5 blocked your bishop. It took bishop out of your fighting angle, right? Your opposition has become stronger, your position has become weaker, your pawn structure is wrong, all that. There is a theory, underlying theory to it, even for every move which you make. That way, your learning will be much more higher. Even if you learn this, it is very easily generalized to some other situation, right? The problem with us is, in the case studies, what the typical ways what we are studying is in this manner, it is not adding value to us. 100%, take it from, right? So is there any attempt? So is it possible that we give structure to this case study? Also, one more thing is, the case study by themselves, case studies by themselves, they are not a linear paragraph like GMAT or anything like that. There is a lot of difference between a case study and a regular GMAT or any other entrance examination paragraph. So we'll come to know today what are those differences, how not to treat every case study like a GMAT paragraph, because that's how we used to treat. And that's the reason why there is no value addition. And in fact, I asked so many people, so many students, all are experienced students, is there any value to you with this case study? Okay. Initially, it was like almost like, trying to be smooth and trying to be very good. Yeah, a lot of value it had. I asked him to cite 2-3 values, which that value means what at the end of the day. Then, it's almost like Pandora's box got opened up. It is of no use. If there is a case at the end of the day in an IT strategy case study, they applied for bankruptcy in 1992. Some statement was there. So what do you think was the IT strategy of the organization? IT strategy was bad because they applied for bankruptcy. Obvious. No, IT strategy was very good if you go through the case. Strategy was nothing to do with whether you applied for bankruptcy or not. That was not the reason. So everybody fell for it, right? So this simplistic thinking has to be first taken out, right? So we need to treat our case studies much like a puzzle. This is my own articulation. I don't know how good it is, right? It's like a pieces of puzzle. When you do this, it is like putting the puzzle in 3 bags for me and giving it to me back. Isn't that what a majority of us are doing? Because 3 things grouped into one: first question, second question, third question. It's like giving these pieces back to me. 3 pieces here, and this entire group, I don't know, it's not arranged, right? That's how we are doing. So please treat case studies like a puzzle. If that is the case, how do we solve this puzzle? So how do we bring in a structure to thinking about business cases is what this effort is all about. This is not my own, right? This is also taken from Harvard and multiple books. As there is frustration. So frustration is my motivation in this. Okay. We discussed enough textbook versus business case, value with case studies. So what if an MBA has only case studies? Okay. This is a point which I wanted to make. Most of the time, these are the questions which I asked. Okay. What the case is trying to convey. We don't normally see that at all. In any case, in any business case. Okay. We never look at anything. We just look at the questions and then answer it. Right? So first and the foremost, you need to think is what the case is trying to convey. What am I supposed to learn? Okay, so these are the things slightly. Are you able to see through this? The case method prepares learners for a world that demands critical thinking skills, which we are not applying at all here, and the ability to create convincing arguments. Right? Cases are used to assist students in acquiring, developing those skills. For example, I gave you these examples. So basically, this kind of a knowledge is codified in concepts. It's very easy to remember the structure than remember all the cases. So if that is the case, okay, our main attempt is how do we bring in order to the case studies, right? This we have discussed. So this is just to emphasize more on lecture models and concepts that are meant to be applied, right? And you can go through that. This is not a big. Another problem which I was going through these case studies is there is no persuasive writing. How can there be persuasive writing if you are just reproducing the case by itself? In case studies, one of the most important thing to learn is there is no right or wrong answer. Okay, first thing. The second thing is you need to take a position. Most of us are not good at taking a position and justifying it and defending it. It's not somehow we have to defend. Right? It's not just fight between two people. When you say I have to defend my position, I have to look at it's almost like a legal case. You need to look at evidences. You need to go through each and every case as a legal case. Right? We are not very good. We are not very comfortable in taking a position of that mindset. Basically, somehow we are not comfortable, especially coming from Indian background and all that. Even in organizations, I have seen people are hesitant to take a position. Okay, suppose you are discussing in a senior management whether to buy this organization or not. Okay, you have a different viewpoint. Very few people will come and say, no, this organization we should not buy because of these things. Suppose if the CEO has already decided, not many people will twist their hands and then say, this is disaster for us. We are not comfortable. Whereas people in the West, slowly the things are changing. Okay, you're all youngsters and with 5-6 years of experience, right? You may be changing. That is for good. But I have seen that people are not very comfortable taking a position and defending it. That is the first thing which you need, the change in the mindset to write case studies more persuasive. That's the reason, because we are not comfortable in taking stands, we cannot persuasively write about what I feel about it or we feel about it. Not necessarily. There is no bias in it. See, let us say you take a case, there are 3 or 4 decisions which I could have taken, right? Now what happens? As per the case, the CEO has taken the first decision, whereas I very strongly feel he should have taken the second decision. Now, what is the basis for this? The basis for me is the evidences in the case study. Basically the tables and all the pictures, the graphs, everything which they give, right? According to that, I feel very strongly, if at all, if an objective decision has to be taken, it should have been decision number 2, whereas CEO has taken decision number 1, which is disaster, let us say, right? So when you say writing persuasively, you have to now build your case. Suppose if you believe strongly the decision number 2 is involved, I have to now start citing evidences. So when you start citing evidences, right, exhibits inside the case, and then build up your decision, that is what is writing persuasively about. It's not just good English, right? It is data, it's about pictures, it's about the other evidences. Evidences could be the best evidence, gold standard evidence is the data, right? Other things, some discussions might have happened. Some people are leaning towards 2, some people are leaning, right? So when you say writing persuasively, somebody, if they read your writings, okay, they should immediately feel that decision number 2 should have. This is what persuasively is all about. It is like conjuring up the evidences and writing it and solidifying your case. So it is not bias. it becomes, one more set of assumptions. I don't have to go through the cases at all. So my implicit bias should be avoided. Could be there. Yeah, could be there. But it should be backed up by your evidences. In order to be more persuasive, it has to be evidence based. That's what we'll understand when we go more into the details. Next is persuasion is the art of convincing an audience, listeners, to believe, think, and act as the speaker or the contestant. Right? Argument and persuasion are necessary to resolve controversy. Right? So though there are some books are Indians are argumentative. Okay, we are not actually. When you say argument, it's a building, it's like a bridge that people will just walk on your bridge. Right? When you say it could be my bias, I could be having some bit of bias, but I have an art of conjuring up the bias along with my evidences in the perspective which I want to see it. Right? Chances are that if you write like that, it should never be treated as wrong. Some people have the art, even though it is right, some bit of chain of evidences might be there. They have the ability to conjure up all this and bring bridge so that people will like to walk on your bridge. If you're writing so persuasively, it should be complimented. Nobody should say it is wrong. Okay. So don't worry being wrong there is nothing like being wrong in a case study. It is a position and the evidences which you take. Okay. Normally, when you give assignments, you go through this theory. So many theories are there. Okay. And a laundry list of things. Your questions will be linear. What are the functions of a manager? Very easy. A manager has to be this from operation perspective and customer perspective. From you normally remember this. I'm sorry, I don't have a pen either. Today itself, my tablet is also not working. Okay. So when you're asked this question, this is a very general linear question. A case study will never give you such questions. What are the functions of the manager inside the case? No, that's not a very good crafted case study. A case study represents an unknown territory that falls outside our comfort zone. A well-written case study will have uncertainties in this because we as managers, we take decisions under uncertainty. I will ask you one of my pet questions. Differences, or what is the main difference between management and administration? Management is taking decisions, administration implementing decisions. Very good answer. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, anybody? Yeah, very similar. Right, all are right answers. I'll give you my own answer. I don't know how much of whether you agree or disagree. Again, it's not taken from any web or anything like that. I feel management, when I just now said that we take decisions under uncertainty, right? So the degree of uncertain situation for management is much more than administration. In case of administration, it is a neatly laid out process. There are less and less of uncertainties, right? Let us say you join an IAS officer, they know exactly the protocol and this is how it should be done. It should be done. Okay, less of uncertainty. In case of industries, there is hardly anything which is so certain. Okay, when you take a decision, you are not sure about the results. Whether you take your project management related decisions, whether you take human related decisions, whether you want to buy or hire a person, right? You're not sure about it, but still the risk taking ability is there for the manager. That's why when you say management, it always goes along with the risks. So when you say risk, because it's uncertain. So in a management, I feel the degree of uncertainty is more. Similarly, in a case study, there will be uncertainty, right? So you need to manage the uncertainty. That's what our discomfort zone basically comes in, uncertainty, right? It represents a scenario that contains large quantity of information. By its nature, so most of the time in our day-to-day events or day-to-day experiences in office, not everything is linear. So many unwanted information, so many unwanted people will take our time. There is a lot of noise in it. It is never the case with with 3 hours I will complete my job and go. My productive work will be around 3 to 4 at what level you work. In rest of all the 50% is noise, right? So in beautifully crafted case studies, basically, that noise will be imposed upon it as data, as unwanted discussion between two people, right? As customers insight, something, lot of noise. So you must have the ability to separate noise from the signal. That is true even in case studies. There is no clear starting point, vary in the initial perception of focus. Okay, a spectrum of issues it will touch with varying degrees of importance, right? So specific requirements in terms of responses, what recommendations can you give it to the CEO? Suppose if this is the question. So you need to understand the entirety of the case in order to imagine this question and compare it with the first question. What are the functions of a manager? As recommendations can you give to the CEO? So that's the basic difference. Cases have multiple meanings that are always controversial. There are many ways to persuade an audience. Okay, so academic, the best way is to pursue it through an argument. So you must know how to build up your argument as you would in a legal case as a lawyer. For business students, the learning to analyze a situation and pursue it through rational argument is of great importance. Please note this point, right? So we need to analyze the situation and pursue it through our rational arguments, right? So emotions and other things we need to leave out. We'll skip this. I need to close faster. Okay. Cases constantly invite immersion into the details of fact and data. You want the details, but you also want a structure that manages. So I'm just laying out the ground why the structure is important to us, right? The structure or the frameworks like this, okay, is important. Suppose if you have this kind of a framework in this kind of a case studies, it is easy to remember. So if that is the case, what kind of structure can we build in? Let me see. I will send some things I cannot share. Some things I will send it across. Business studies. Okay. Our business school, though 80% of case studies very similar to what you said. Okay. That may not be the case now, but the way they study the case is different. This side is theory. This side is case. That's how they study. They study together. Okay. So that way, if we can do it with every subject with 3 or 4 cases, and with the construction of still of theories is what is the good recipe is all about. So what are the common mistakes that we do? Failing to understand precisely what is required, right? Now take for example this, you're a consultant hired by the company. Prepare a report that summarizes your recommendations on course of action that would result in greater market share in Asia, right? You're a consultant, you're not an employee. Focus should be on market in East Asia and not on the global, right? So these two things are, should be very clear in this until unless you ask this question, right? One of the important things which I will come to that portion is reading through. Okay, properly we don't even read through the case. That's the problem, right? Not reading the case with sufficient precision and differentiate relevant from the irrelevant, and not understanding the key issue and supplementary issue. Please note this. This is the important thing. What is the key issue in the case? How do we do this? For example, company is experiencing decreasing domestic sales of its product and exporting as a means to generate has identified a foreign country in which there is significant demand, but has been unsuccessful to sell this product in the specified foreign country. What is the key issue? So we understand that key issue, figuring out the key issue in the case is important. Suppose if this sort of a paragraph you find in one of the cases, what do you think is the key issue? Drop in revenue. One issue is drop in revenue. Then is not able to sell in the specific foreign country. The key looks like. Then okay, even though there is demand, you're unable to sell. So that is probably there are not able to sell is a cause for my sales not able to generate revenue. Generation of revenue or not sufficient revenue is an effect, and the cause could be one is significant demand locally, or probably we are not able to sell in a foreign country, right? So the key issue, okay, there is one effect and there are two causes. The effect is a drop in revenue. One cause may be not able to sell in a domestic market, and second cause could be not able to sell in a foreign country. So all these things must come to your mind the moment you go through this paragraph. Okay, so that is the reason why having some framework. Suppose one of the parameters that you need to be aware of, what is the key issue before even opening the issue. The moment you wear this hat and then say I need to search for the key issue, then you will scrutinize much better. So it's very important that you note down what is the key issue in this given. So as it is in the foreign country, decreasing domestic sales, right? If after zeroing in on the key issue, what are the supplementary issue? Supplement, suppose if this is the key, tariff barriers, tariff, or something else, then what happens? Your flow starts into the case. You start searching for your answers, right? So even before you go to the next paragraph, okay, what are the supplementary issues? Why they are not able to sell? Then you look for answers in the business case. As you would simply blindly going through the case, you are now pausing and you are beginning to ask questions. And weapons for managers is we should ask probing questions. You would have gone through some reviews, program reviews, project reviews, product reviews, and all that. What do you do there? You ask questions. Have you taken care of this? Where is your hardware plan? Is this hardware plan matching your software plan? Hey, suddenly I don't have the hardware plan. Right? So what happens when a third person takes a different view? Thank you. Most of the things fail in my hand. This is a waste of time. That's why I brought my tablet. Okay. So what happens? We should be good at questions. Questions are like torch for us. Because most of the time we are roaming in dark. Okay. You want to be good and you want to be successful in senior management, you have to ask probing questions. Right? Once there is a monthly review of all the programs and projects, people will go with a lot of action items because of questions. All your questions are important. So you need to ask questions are like torch for us. Okay, it helps us. Even in the case, you need to ask questions. For example, we asked one question, right? That is, what is the key issue in the system or in the case? So don't make assumptions, right? Second error, this is a list of all the errors. Don't make illogical, oversimplifying or overcomplicating assumptions in the case. Sometimes, very rarely, so we might have to make certain assumptions, right? That must be common sense assumptions. So what are those assumptions when we make? Any assumption is to pass 3 tests. It must be reasonable. A casual reader and an informed reader should concur with it. For example, in reviewing a set of financial statements representing the financial position and condition of sole proprietorship, Would the assumption that these statements are prepared on an accrual basis be reasonable? Looks like. Okay, you're all some of your financial about it. Failing to make a balance between quantitative and qualitative data, misinterpreting either or both of them. So you need to watch out for what are the qualitative data in my one through exhibits normally will they give, and quantitative data. If some of you are joining business analytics or probably in your research methodology class, okay, you will come to know how to distinguish between qualitative and quantitative data. In your research methodology classes have not started, right? No, not yet. July 2nd it starts. So you'll come to know in the very first class, you'll know what exactly it is. Writing too much or too little, overemphasizing a particular part of the case study, arriving at a recommendation not supported by the analysis. This points out to sometimes the biases which we are talking about. Okay. Sometimes what happens, I want to see what I like to see inside the case. Sometimes while we speak also, right? We want the other person to speak what we like them to speak. They're all inbuilt biases in us. So it is better we get rid of all the bias and then overusing graphics. This also you need to take care. What a case, what it does, what it doesn't do. It's a real situation. As I've been emphasizing, right? Case study basically, when it is interspersed with noise and unnecessary data, right? It's a real life scenario. Cases are not like, this is like, this is the beginning and they need not be chronological. It's not like a Chandamama story, right? So cases sometimes will be interspersed with, and they're not necessarily linear. Whereas any graph or even a textbook, they will be linear. So cases basically have a non-linear organization. Cases are verbal representatives of reality, right? Organization, entire nation, size could vary, right? There will be cross current, irrelevancies, and they are basically simulating your business uncertainty. So as I told in the beginning, this is an equivalent of lab for scientists, right? So a case must have 4 characteristics in order to represent an analog of a reality. Right? It must be a business issue. It cannot be just somebody was interested, they opened an organization, there was no issues at all, and finally the organization $100 million. So what? Right? If there is no significant business issue, there will be so many other things in the social sciences discipline. We derive a lot of knowledge from social sciences, from the Department of Social Sciences, how they do, even in your research methodology, you will understand this. Doing a research in social sciences, right? Like gender studies, gender bias in the organizations, all these things will be done in the social sciences, right? We derive a lot of knowledge out of it into the business domain. The way they do the research, everything, right? So at least for business side case studies, we need to have a significant issue, business issue. Okay, sufficient information on which to base conclusions of. Yes, I identified the significant business issue. If the case is too short, sometimes it does not have so much information to even base my conclusions. That's not a nicely crafted case. Okay, in a well-crafted case study, okay, it will have sufficient information. You need to scout for the information. There is no objective conclusion. Otherwise, no explicit or implied right answer. This I have been saying right from the first statement. No implied right answer. Otherwise, it won't be interesting, right? A non-linear organization. Now, can you tell what are the 4 characteristics of case? Okay. Significant business issue. Sufficient information. No right answer. or implied answer, then non-linear organization. My handwriting is like doctor's handwriting, so I'm not a doctor, so still you can bear with. Okay, so these are the 4 characteristics of the cases. Okay, you have to internalize this, because what happens in each of these things, you ask a question: is there a significant business issue? What is a significant business issue in the case? We just saw the small paragraph and then decided that the significant business issue is not able to sell domestic sales, or significant business issue could be something else, right? Its effect is, of course, business issue itself is maybe you can consider the effect also as an issue, main issue. Why my sales are going down? Why my revenues are going down? Maybe my revenues are going down even though my sales are not going down, because I have brought down the cost. There is a chance, right? So that way, the way you want to dive into the case, okay, these are all like your different torches. These are all the questions you must have even before you delve into the case. One of the result of all this, okay, before you go into the case, you must know what information you are searching for. You cannot go through some exhibits in the beginning itself. Exhibit 1, exhibit 2, some data, some market data. Don't go through this immediately until unless you know why you're going through that. That is an important mindset which is required for you. Don't unnecessarily go through. Some of them may be nice. We don't know, right? So don't blindly dive into the case without knowing what questions to ask, or without knowing how to go into the deep question. So does it have sufficient information? Okay, significant business issue is this. There are 3 business issues. Looks like this is the prominent one. And as I delve into the case study, maybe I shift towards this. As I delve more into the case studies, maybe this will be the significant business issue. You can even change, because at the very first statement, maybe sometimes significant business issue might come or may not come. Now this is a given. There's nothing to remember, or nor implied right answer is my mindset. I don't have to worry about being wrong, right? And non-linear organization, I cannot expect this like a true story, right? So these 2 are mindset change, and these 2 are important questions to ask. A case without a significant issue has no educational value, right? It could be something important, pricing dilemma, debt equity trade-off, or a major problem in a factory. So something significant must be there in a case. Sufficient information, enough facts pertaining to the main issue, right? There will be noise. You must filter out, get into the useful. Textbook and articles only have information that is relevant to the topic. Case studies, because noise is a characteristic of the real life situation. No objective conclusions. We have discussed this enough. Non-linear organization, we have discussed. This is just a brief about textbooks, present principles and conclusions. Present information only, no principles or conclusion. This is the case. Textbook basically explain the meaning and significance of concepts, require reader to construct the meaning of the case. That's the reason why in a process of induction, right? So you are constructing the meaning. The meaning comes out of as a theory. So don't discount theory, it will be meaningless. Even you said 100%. Don't you think? Okay, let's all be honest here. Even in a 10th standard, if I had given this case today, I would have answered it. No? Why? No, in a typical, conservative way of without analyzing much of the things what we discussed so far, in the way this organization which I consider, 10th standard also, student also can do. Isn't it? Do I need any domain knowledge here? No. Then isn't it a waste? What if 100% comes out, and if this is the way we do, right? It's a waste of time, honestly, right? So textbooks just giving you a more important picture of this, right? So we need to derive meaning from the case. The moment you study a case, It is important. What is the learning for you? You should be able to know. Not in the learning is somebody made this mistake or that mistake. It's I gave the example of a chess, right? What was if you lose a game? What did you learn from that? Similarly, at the end of the case study, when you write a conclusion about a case study, you must learn. You must write your learnings from it. Conclusion not necessarily about the case studies. At the end of the day, keep 1 or 2 lines with you. What happened? Reconnect. Zoom is reconnecting. So does anyone know meeting ID? No, this is connected to that. Meeting ID? Link, huh? I think the link I have. dsu.edu bridge course and all that. Oh, I think I just got it. Just keep it in case if it disconnects, it will be easy for me. Well, okay, sorry for that interruption. Guidelines for reading. Okay. One of the first thing, but a lot of echo is there. Fine. So the question comes, how do I read the case? Okay. One of the most important thing is, okay, first read the first last section of the case. Identify the course. So they can see the option, they can put it. Laptop is muted. It's okay now, right? Okay. Here are the disturbances which I don't like. Okay. So first and last section of the case, identify the core scenario. We told you that. Okay. I have not told you what the core scenario is about. Okay. Let me first switch over the things. In case of, I told you the structure is important. This is the heart of this class. Okay. The next 5-10 minutes is the heart of this class. So please pay particular attention to it and think through it whether it is the only way out or is there any way to structure this information. So I was talking to you about how do we structure the cases. Most of the times in our business studies, we take decisions. Managers, we take decisions. So almost 80% of the cases, okay, if not 80, it may be an argument again 60% or whatever may be the percent. Majority of the cases, okay, involve some kind of decision making. That is one classification. What we are trying to do is the cases, the business cases, being classified into one is decision making. So that means the case somebody is making a decision, right? The second aspect is sometimes inside the organization we are evaluating something, we are reviewing something, we are commenting upon something, we are studying something very deeply, right? It could be a mergers and acquisition. It could be like some customers important things we are trying to review it. We are assessing some customers. We are assessing an employee, right? HR's lot of performance appraisal will come. We need to study. It's like, let us say, I ask what's the latest movie you have watched. Let's say movie X. You might have liked it. You might not have liked it. Suppose I ask you, how is that movie? What will be your answer? What is the latest movie you have watched? Is it good? Very good. Do you think I will like it? Not sure. Why? Why is that? Why? What interest? Why do you say it is good? Simplistic answer. Okay. Why do you think it is good? Exactly. Right? Blah, 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 blah. Right? Story may not appeal to me. Photography may be good. Songs may be good. Background may be good. Right? There are criteria. Right? So basically, when you say movie, you never know what kind of movie I like. Okay. And also, it's not that, okay, boss, I'll give a laundry list of things, whether the movie was good or not. Also, colloquially, you will say it is good. Right? So when you say it is good, it's almost like a Netflix gives you a set of things, right? To rate a movie on, whether it's the actors, whether it's this, right? So basically, all these things you are evaluating. This is scenario. All these things. Another set of case study is basically the key person, the key character in this case is basically evaluating some things. Right? The third one is you might have done in your organization. Let us say something has gone wrong. Right? It could be a person, it could be some customers. This is always will be the case. Customer is very unhappy. We have released it on schedule, everything is done, and they have given 8 out of 10, 10 out of 10, but still they did not consider us for reorder. Right? So we want to do some analysis. What are you going to do there? All of you are sitting and you want to know why customer is unhappy. What is that you are doing now? Sorry? Root cause analysis. Or you can even say diagnostics. DIAG, right? So diagnostic, scenario, or root cause analysis. These are the major 3 classifications which we can now classify our business cases. Business decision making, evaluation, and diagnostics. Now, there are 2 more classifications available, which are not very frequent, but which helps us, to keep in mind. One is concept application. These are all small case studies, concept application, and the other one is for illustration only. There is not much of educational value, just for illustration. Somebody has happened and they got, so finally they joined some other organization. Not much of educational value. Told you that it must have significant business value, significant business issue might be there. So considering that, okay, these 3, and to some extent, concept application, what the classification. Now we are slowly bringing in a structure to the cases. Now, if you recall, if you're going forward, if you say this was a decision-making case, this is an evaluation case. Now, when you say halt, this is a decision-making case. If that is the case, what is the information that I look for? Right? So these are all what we call a core scenarios. So it is very important that when you study the case in the beginning, you need to identify, we need to come with a core scenario of the case. What is the core scenario in this case? Is this a decision making? Is this an evaluation? Is this a diagnostic case? Right? We'll keep these 3 things in mind. And if we get a separate application, let us see, majority of the time a concept application can be mapped into one of these 3. Majority of them. Right? So you need to keep an eye on that. So when you want to go through the case, right? I told you by asking questions. It is also called active reading. Right? One of the core things in this is active reading. See, most often what happens, we accept some people as good. We accept some people as brilliant. Right? Without going into the details of where do I stand. Let us say, you might need 3 hours to go through a book and suddenly become very good in it. I might need 6 hours to go through the same book. Right? So in order to sit next to you with regard to this particular domain or a topic, I need to spend 6 hours in it. Right? This is one aspect of self-awareness we need. Right? I need 6 hours means I should be able to spend 6 hours in it. The reason why you're good at it, I have not gone into the details of it. Why we accept some people as just good, right? I'm telling you this, even in the high school also it was true, and maybe we might not have noticed, we might not have noticed. One of the key things about those good people is active reading. Before reading, they ask questions in their minds. And the moment they get the answer, 3 pages they can skip. That's why I've seen some people reading. They don't have to go through. They know exactly what it is. Because initially, you know why you are reading it, you know what information you are searching. That's very, very important. No matter what, whether you read a textbook or a case study or even some fictions and non-fictions or anything for that matter. So in case studies, it is all the more important an active reader. For an active reader, basically, you are asking probing questions. Initially, first paragraph itself, you are asking what's the course scenario in the case. Okay. Take a quick look at the other sections, exhibits to determine the information that it contains. Purpose is to learn what information is in the case and where. Avoid reading sections slowly, right? Now is the time to think, what is the core scenario in the case? What does the main character have to do? What is the major uncertainty? There are 3 questions you are asking before even delving deep into the case. I told you these questions are like torch. Because you are going into an uncertain world, you're going through this, you need questions. So what are the 3 questions that you ask? What is the core scenario in the case? What does the main character have to do? If the main character is to take a decision, if the main character is to do an evaluation, if the main character is to do a diagnostics. These 2 are related. Okay. Sometimes what happens, the decision-making case studies may or may not be, there may be a word called decision. Okay. So you need to understand that aspect of it. So what is the main character to do? What is the major uncertainty? If it's a decision making, why is it such a difficult thing? What is the uncertainty in this case? The moment you have a grip over these things, it is very easy to delve into the deep into the case. Okay, so that is the first basic mindset is don't jump blindly into the case. Value addition will be very less. The moment you ask these questions, the moment you identify the core scenario and the uncertainty in this. So we all know that uncertainty is the real life situation for us. And there will be in the case also, there will be uncertainty. So you need to get a grip of what is the uncertainty? Why is it decision making so difficult in this? Right? So what are, there may be multiple options, and each option might be, there may be risk. So that's the uncertainty. You are not sure about what happens if you take a decision 1, if you decision 2, decision 3, you're not sure. That itself is an uncertainty. So once you are reasonably certain about the core scenario, decision, evaluation, problem diagnosis, you can use relevant framework class. So we are going to give you a framework. You don't have to get tied to it. Okay. Even in organization, process violations used to be a lot of problem, violations used to happen from my group. I'm famous for that. But a lot of process changes also, change requests also used to come from my group. Okay. So when certain framework is given, it is for you to help to think. It is not not for you. So please keep in mind any process or any framework or any such kind of tools, right? It will help you think further. If you can think better than the framework, change the framework, please go ahead and do it. Okay. Suppose if you agree, there may be some other case. If you are not able to map any case into this or into this, if you want to think about another extension to this, please do so. You can. It will be a Harvard publishing. No, really, it might happen. That's the reason why these kind of developments will come. Okay. So what I'm saying is because inherently I'm not that I have written any major HBR publication, but when it comes to the framework, I always little bit be guarded. Right? Can this be generalized? Can I think about something else? Keep that in mind. There is no harm in it. Next question is, what do you need to know to accomplish what the main character has to do to resolve the major uncertainty? There is an uncertain situation. We need to resolve that uncertain situation. What the main character has to do? Okay, this is the thing that you need to know about the situation. Don't worry. Okay, this is the most important step. If you don't know what you're looking for the case, you wouldn't find. So into the case, before going into all the exhibits and all that, find out what is that I have to know. I have identified this as a decision-making scenario. I know what the answer is. If that is the case, pause for a moment and think, what are the information that I need to get into the case? Okay, what do I need to know to take a sound decision? So that's what it means. Okay. So what do you need to know to accomplish what the main character is to do or resolve the major uncertainty? Go through the case, skim sections, mark places. You're ready. Now we are ready for a deep dive. So what are the 4 questions that we have asked? They're all the characteristics. What are the questions? First, core scenario. What does the main character has to do? Is it closely related to this? Then What do you need to know? To resolve uncertainty. Like what is it? I'm also a little bit lazy, so I write the same thing. Right? So what do you need to know to accomplish what the main character to do? Another previous question, because I want you to not just note down, internalize this. Okay, I believe in internalizing certain concepts. Think through and internalize. Right? What did you say? Identify the core scenario, the information in the case. Okay. So what is the core scenario? What does the main character to do? What is the major uncertainty in the case? And then finally, the fourth question is, what is that I need to know to resolve the uncertainty? Afterwards, you can skim through the details. So please remember those four questions. It's not a big deal. It's all out of common sense. Before getting deep into the case, it's just common sense that we keep these four torches in mind, right? Before delving deep into the case. What do you need to know to accomplish what the main character to do to resolve the uncertainty? Core scenario. What does the main character to do? Whether you take a decision or so that's like identify. This question helps you to identify the core scenario basically. And what do you need to know? And before that, uncertainty. Major uncertainty in a case. Not necessarily in that order. You can, according to your convenience, you can change the. But it looks like a logical sequence of steps. So your ultimate goal is to arrive at a position or a conclusion about case's main issue backed up by evidence in the case. There are no objectively right answers to the case. I'm repeatedly saying this. So what is our goal? Goal is to take a position. Your goal is not necessarily to answer these questions in the right manner. Right manner in the sense as per whatever is given verbatim. No, this is not my goal. My goal is to take a position in the case backed up by evidences. I need to now form my own picture of the case, write persuasively about it, so that even my teacher, whoever is evaluating my answer, will fall for it. Hey, this is how it should have been. No right or wrong answer. The best answer is the one that with the strongest evidence backing it. That's the best evidence. Okay. So when you say evidences, there is a big evidence itself is a subject by itself. Right? So we will not go into that. One is data. First is the data, which is given in exhibits, tables, conclusions, right? Data / drafts. Second one is key characters, opinions, or suggestions. Some discussion might have come. There will be noise in this. What you can do, okay, for more information, go through evidences in cases. Google search you can do and note down some 3 or 4 points. I leave it as an exercise to you and also let me know about it. Okay. There will be so many things. Right? Is with reference to our business cases. What are the evidences? Data, this is exhibits. Okay. So how do you gather these evidences? What are those evidences? You must know at least around 3 or 4 points. So go through that and keep that in the mind. So what actions does your position support or require? This is also another torch for you. Let's go to the decision making case study now. This is just sent you the 4 cases. I'm sure you would have received it. Basically, you should have come prepared with that, right? 4 different cases. And I think batch number 1 did that to some extent. Batch number 2, not so much, maybe at 20% had gone through those cases. This is batch number 3, most experienced batch compared to the other 2. Have anyone gone through those cases, business cases? Not received it? Yes. under the impression that you're given 4 cases. One is it's an evaluation, market evaluation. That's wonderful case study. Other one is I've given a link for this. I've given a link for this case study. The other one is it's about LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn was attacked about a year and a half back, right? So that what kind of a case would that be? Or scenario? Exactly. Sometimes what happens, it becomes a tricky situation to decide between evaluation and decision, because before decision you will anyway evaluate multiple criteria and all that. Still, the case is about decision making. Sometimes you will stop at evaluation. Sometimes what happens, root cause and evaluation, there will be a little bit of confusion. But when the event is, you want to know why it happened. That why means it's a diagnosis. Because I have to analyze why. It could be any move. Is good. It's also a kind of a diagnosis. Why this movie is good? Why? I mean, it's an evaluation strictly, but certain events have already happened, right? You want to now find out the root cause of why certain thing, what made those events happen. Right? So this is how you need to use the judgment. Right? So in this case, okay, I had given in case of LinkedIn, I can show you the answer. Some of the assignments they have written, okay, EMBA students only, the same LinkedIn. I'll show you how beautifully there. I never expected that kind of a result, right? They took it as a diagnostic scenario. Why the LinkedIn was basically close to 500 million contacts were shared on the web. I think most of you might know about, right? LinkedIn case study. So that they treat it as a diagnostic case study. Done very well. Right? I will show you share that particular case study with you. Maybe the time permits. This is a paragraph from a case. The product, process and reliability PPR committee, which had the final responsibility for the new product development process, had asked David Strom for his analysis and recommendation as to whether Packard Electric should commit to the rim grommet for a 1992 model of a car. This is almost okay. So we have Dave Strom. He belongs to Packard Electric. Okay, and they're basically subcontractors, maybe some partners for the General Motors. You know the rim grommet. The grommet is basically where in an automobile all the wirings like tunnel it will be laid out. It is a basic thing which separates out the engine components from the passenger component. Right? All the wirings will be laid out. There will be different technologies. I think one is the HBR, not HBR, IHB, and the other one is the rim grommet. So they were changing it to the rim grommet. Now this case is all about, sometimes in order to dive deep into the case, you need that domain knowledge also. Right? Without a strong financial and accounting domain knowledge, you cannot go through a case which is firmly immersed in the accounting. So accordingly, your business cases also will be distributed. So here, just take it like it's a rim is a next generation technology. Whether they should commit to a 1992 model of a car. So Dave Strom has to do his analysis and recommend. See, I'm recommending. I'm not just analysis and going home, right? I need to recommend. So this is a 15-page case study. So what are the things that Dave? So just forget about what he does, right? Now in this itself, this is a decision-making case because he has to now recommend his decision, right? Preceded by a lot of analysis go through why commit to the rim, about the cost benefit analysis, what are the different risks that are involved, everything they go through this. But in this paragraph itself, you can come to know that yes, this is a decision making scenario. There will be multiple parameters. There will be different criteria for decision making, right? So it's almost like this. Rim or present one. I think IHB is the other one, right? So I have to take a decision either to rim or to continue. Is there any other decision? This is Dave. It's just a component. Take it like this. Many of you are not knowing about it. It's a very basically all the wirings and other conduit is like a conduit, right? So there are two different varieties. One is ISP, and the other one is there are a lot of in the case you will find out that there are a lot of issues. Water used to come inside the passenger compartment, right? So there are some customer issues which they were resolved with trim, and now he has to take a decision whether to stay with this or whether. Is there any other decision? This is the current. This is the component change. This is an automobile. Is there any other least risky but costly part? Why not both? And third one approach, there is no other different approach. I have to manufacture this for my 1992 model car, or I have to manufacture this, or both. Make this, keep this ready. Both of them keep it. Could be a decision. So the decision is either this or both. Right? So in this small paragraph, okay, you can ask so many questions. Okay. Does Dave have enough issue? Present one. Why are you going ahead with trim? Right? Why is there any customer issues with this? Does customer get any benefit out of this? What about the cost benefits? Because in automobile, you need to manufacture spares. 40,000 spares have to be kept according to the GM policies. Any new car, its model, 40,000 spares have to be kept. That's their thumb rule. Right? No, I have to manufacture 40,000 of this extra. What about the spares already present here? All those questions will come in a small paragraph like this. Right? So you need to, the moment you ask all these things, after that, when you go through the case, the questions are slowly getting answered. The key in this is, once you recognize this as a decision, what is the first question you ask about decision making? Options. What are the options first? Right? How many options do I have? Is it my option 1 is trim, option 2 is trim, option 3 is both? Then comes, what are the criteria for this? One is cost benefit, as you say. What are the other aspects of criteria for this? This criteria will be different, sometimes common criteria. So they're all criteria. Then, in the case, if you have this picture in mind, you look for criteria. What criteria Dave has used? Without this, you wouldn't look for any criteria. That's how having a structure, okay, and having those questions, you go deep dive into the. We are just still discussing about the first paragraph. Strictly speaking, because unfortunately EMBA is only 18 sessions. Is it 18 hours, right? Every subject, 3 into 6, 18 hours. Strictly speaking, at least if we had around 50 hours per subject, we should have analyzed each and every case inside the class. That's how the case study meeting helps. First 3 or 4 sessions is only theory, and afterwards all the cases, the business cases, with this structure in mind. If all of us analyze, every one of us could take 5 minutes and come to the stage and explain part of the case. That's when the learning will be maximum. You can learn from your peers. All of us can learn. But unfortunately, that practice, that's how they do in Harvard and other cases. That's how they do. Everybody comes with preparation. And it's a question of fight. No, I will go for this, I will go for this, I will go for this, whatever. Give reasons. That's how you learn. Right? So let's move on. So Sham, the main character, must recommend a decision producing a newly designed part used in the assembly of automobiles. Business cases are organized around explicit decisions are the most common type. So that's the decision making scenarios. 15:26. You want 5 minutes break? Huh? Is it so boring? 20 minutes you really need? You'll be late by 20 minutes. As simple as that. 10 minutes. Okay. We'll meet after 10 minutes. We'll come back and discuss about this. Yeah, I'm senior to most. Need a break.
But we are sitting, no?
start? The majority of the people, some people need 20 minutes to cover it. What time we are supposed to close? Yeah. Are you guys in a hurry for process or anything? No. So decision making scenario. Okay. What are the question we are going to ask? What the main character has to do? What the major uncertainty in the case? In this case, the best decision is for Sham what to do about the rim geometry, whether it is rim or the current one of the two. To come to the evaluation, it portrays a situation in which a deeper understanding of a person, division, company, country, or a strategy is necessary before any critical decisions can be taken. Right? So you need a deeper understanding. In order to evaluate, you have to go into the depth. Right? It could be anything: a person, a division, a company, country, strategy, or anything. Right? From an HR perspective, can you give a what kind of an evaluation case study can be? Some of you are from going to HR. Okay. So what are the criteria? So what will be the result of the evaluation? Good. Now, look at this as a case study. Stimulated by their success in introducing a new distribution channel for flowers, Bovids and our two key associates, Wilson and Lee, were reassessing company's long-term growth strategy. Flower distribution, this one. Was Calyx and Corolla more a mail order operation, or should it compete directly against more traditional outlets such as florists, wide services, and FTTs? How fast it did have to grow to protect its initial success? Mind you, read this with carefully. Okay. Initial success stimulated by their success, right? Now they are assessing long-term growth strategy. So that means they are successful, right? What would be the financial implications of growth strategies? How should it personal objectives and those of its investors and employees? So when you go through this case study, this is nothing but an evaluation case study. Huh? You are evaluating so many things in this. That means the first thing is, okay, what are the two things that you want to now evaluate and subset? Rest are all subset questions or subsets of it. What is that they are trying to evaluate in this paragraph? How fast? To protect its initial success. So initially, they were only mail order operation. Looks like. I'm not sure. So what is that they are evaluating? This is the point they are evaluating. How fast did it have to grow? No. This is just one question. This just looks like one criteria for evaluation. I'm not sure. You can counter me. Financial implication. How should it personal objectives and those of its investors influence the character? See, one more thing. You can keep one picture in your mind. Whenever you want to take a decision, there are multiple stakeholders in every decision. When you want to evaluate, right? You want to keep a simple picture of an organization in mind. Okay, that picture is this. Any organization One is owners slash investors. The second one is employees. Partners or vendors or suppliers, customers or our clients. This is a simple picture which will help you, picturize when I take a decision. These are all the business process. It runs down. It more or less captures the entirety of the organization, right? So whenever you want to take such kind of decisions, right? What is the impact on employees, investors? Now they are trending something towards customers. How they are going to take their product. So here, okay, in this, we are reassessing the long-term growth strategy. Okay, these are all some of the questions. It will, it will be confusing. Okay, so we want to assess the long-term growth strategy because we have had initial success as distribution channel for flowers. So introducing, stimulated by their success in introducing a new distribution channel for flowers, okay, they were assessing the long-term growth strategy. So when you want to change something, okay, for all the stakeholders in this, key stakeholders in this, what is the effect on my employees? Maybe I need to retrain them, maybe I need to change them, maybe new employees have to come. Lot of impact on employees. My owners, my long-term growth strategy, maybe sometimes it's like, so what happens when you try a long-term growth strategy? It is our own experiences also. Changing the grip, if you're used to some tennis or badminton or squash, racket games, right? You change the grip, you start losing the games. Some coach will tell you what kind of a grip you have here. The grip in this, maybe you are winning 60% of the games and you are losing with very professionals. Okay, you're nowhere near the professional. A coach will come and tell you, this is how you grip, right? Before you get used to it, you start losing the games. So you must be ready to. You must be ready for losing some games. Otherwise, the long term, you are not going to be a good player. In a similar case, when you assess, when you are going for a long-term growth strategy, there will be some impact on some key stakeholders. Right? You need to assess that impact properly. Okay. So what would be the financial implications of various growth strategies? So this is a clear case of reassessing the long-term growth strategy. The moment you get this paragraph right, some of it becomes a criteria for evaluation. What are the criteria for long-term growth evaluation? One of the criteria, how does it affect my employees? How does it affect my owners? How does it affect my customers? Because I cannot lose I'm successful. I cannot lose my customer base. I have to add new customer base. How is it possible? So in my long-term growth strategy, my new customers have to be in picture, retaining the old customers, right? And what will it impact whether my partners or suppliers are ready for it? Would I change my partner? Maybe my partner should be a delivery partner, right? So all these things, key things, become important for you. And of course, it will have, the moment you change some things, your business process might also need to change. So just expansion, okay, of the current your successful point itself will have to have a lot of evaluations. So that's what you need to keep in mind. Yeah, could be.
And that decision will impact the future. So, how to decide that it would be an evaluation?
It may not matter to you so much. Okay. Yes, that doubt will be having whether it's a key point is decision making or the key point is evaluating, right? So if you look back into the case, should it compete directly against more retail outlets? That's what you are saying. It's a decision. Okay. Now, whether it is a decision or whether it is a criteria for your long, see, I want to know why is this picture coming into the picture? Okay, whether I have to compete with long-term outlets is a small parameter I need to take into this as a decision to even help me reassess my long-term strategy. Okay, this is just one, it just maps into one of the, criteria for your major thing is I want to now assess my long-term growth. I'm not taking any decision yet. I want to reassess. I want to go to the board with this. Right? I don't know. There is a genuine doubt. But I think when you delve deeper into the case, okay, these things will get clouded. It's all right to have a doubt.
Compete with other people, it might impact them in either way. Either they will be profitable or maybe profited, or they might go in loss also.
It could be. The problem is, this is not the key thing in this. Should it compete more traditional outlets such as retail florists and wildlife such as, okay, whether I need to compete, okay, might be a point of decision. Okay, but I need to have my long-term growth strategy that cannot end here. This is just one of the parameters. Okay, when you go into the case, yes, it is good to have such doubts. It is good to have a doubt whether it's a decision or an evaluation or a diagnostic. I told you in the beginning, there will be confusion, but it is good to have that confusion. That means that you have a good hold over the case. You could even argue in the case, yes, this is, I feel when you get into the last 10, 15 pages of this should have been taken care. It's all right. See, being aware of this classification will help you, whatever question you asked, it is very good. Okay, it is right. You can even take this stand. I feel this they should have assessed more. Suddenly they have taken a decision. No, they should have gone through more parameters in this decision making. Could be. That's your point of view. Build up your case. Okay, so don't get bogged down by. Did I say anything like whether you are right or wrong? I don't know. That's your perspective. So if you can gather more evidences in the case, build up a strong case. That's very well. Okay. The first sentence of the paragraph says that 3 leaders of the company are reassessing the existing long-term strategy. In other words, they are evaluating. Cases that require an evaluation can be harder to identify than decision cases. At the beginning of the case, evaluation, re-evaluation, evaluate, re-evaluate, assess, reassess, appraise, right? This is the term famous HR will come into the picture. The moment appraise, something like that comes in. In evaluation scenario, always identify a specific subject. So what are you evaluating? Okay. So when you say decision, what decision you are taking? What is the subject of decision? Here, what is the subject of evaluation? So you need to be aware of the subject. Example, performance of a person or a strategy, or so you need to get into the moment you identify this as the evaluation scenario, you need the next question is what am I evaluating? What is the subject or object of evaluation? Now, from the decision case, what does the main character have to do? When the main character has to make a judgment about the worth, the value, performance, effectiveness, outcome, consequences, something. The core scenario is an evaluation. Okay. The same question we are asking here. What is the main character? Right? Leaders of Corolla wants the effectiveness and consequences of the long-term business strategy. That's the core. From the decision case, what is the second question? What's the major uncertainty in the case? If you have not read it, what is the major uncertainty in that case? In the Calyx and Corolla case. Whether they are going to be successful or not, they don't. How it impacts all these 4 people, we don't. Right? That's why I wanted, what is the major uncertainty in the case? I wanted you to study. That's why I jumped out. You can read it. No issue. Okay. So what I say, whether long-term strategy is the right fit for the business and its stakeholders and will have the desired consequences or not. That's the major uncertainty. Remember our questions. Our first torch is what is the main character? Now it is assessment or evaluation. The second torch is what is the major uncertainty in the case? I'm not too sure. Right? Whether my assessment is right, whether what if I go towards this, okay, what is the effect on others? I'm not sure. Whether it will have desired consequences, I'm not. So I need to evaluate. Even whether it's a decision or evaluation, right? At the end of the day, my focus is on evaluation. If I take this decision, I've not taken this decision yet. Okay. If I take this decision, what is its effect? I'm more interested. In case of diagnostic, what happens? The phenomena or the decision is already being taken. Right? I need to now understand what is the root cause of some event or some phenomenon. In case of evaluation, I'm yet to take a decision. Okay, I don't know the consequences of taking a decision. This is not diagnostic in a true sense. Diagnostic is something that already happened. Right? Here, I need to understand the consequences of taking these decisions much beforehand. Evaluate it with certain criteria. What happens if I take this long-term growth? So the uncertainty in this case is we are not sure about anything. We'll come to the problem diagnosis. Problem can be positive or negative. For example, sometimes an unexpected surge is a problem. If you don't analyze this problem, suppose you get around 15% more share in your product or solution, suddenly it happens due to COVID or something like that. If you don't analyze it, what happens? You will not be able to sustain. Right? So even good things have to be analyzed. Here is a case. Nucor Corporation recorded 750 million and a net income of 46 in 1986. It derived 99% of its sales and operating income from steel making and fabrication 10 sites. Its steel making capacity of 2.1 million made it the second largest domestic mills. Sales and profit had grown very rapidly in the 70s, but had experienced some pressure in the 80s and had actually declined in 86. Note down the chronology. Now, in order to get a better handle on these performance pressures, okay, Nucor's chairman, CEO, reviewed the state of competition in the US and Nucor's position with that in particular. Now, you can argue, can you argue that this is an evaluation also? When the situation has already happened, 1986. It has actually declined. You can go through, it can take a minute or so, you can go through. Is this an evaluation? I personally feel this could be evaluation also. Suppose we didn't know what's going to happen. We didn't know that if we take A, what happens and all that. Maybe it could have become an evaluation. So, exactly. Exactly. It's a postmark. It's a postmark. See,
Was his company.
yeah, his company. With it in, he wants to understand the entirety, what's happening, because it is continuously declining. They were a very good position. Something has happened. It has declined. Now he wants to understand the entirety and my position in it. It's an evaluation, but it's also a diagnostic why my sales have declined. Why is always there. Otherwise, why would he now understand? Beginning before that, you're already bringing up the case. It's actually declined. If it had not declined, he would not have done his exercise. In order to get a performance pressures. Okay, it has already gone down. I need to get a better handle of this. Again, I told you, in the beginning of the case, it is all, you may be deciding this to be an evaluation or a diagnostic. The moment you go, it is good to have these doubts. The moment you go deeper into the case, that's the reason why I brought up only the borderline cases. Some marketing case studies evaluation is, I have given you the case. I don't know why it was not forwarded to you. Right? It is straight evaluation, market evaluation. Right? Now, these kind of things, it is good to have those doubts. And when you dive deep into the case, you know exactly from the exhibits and all that they are evaluating. Okay, it is good to have those doubts. For example, the LinkedIn case is a pure diagnostic case, whatever I have sent you. These are all borderline cases. What's the cause or problem diagnosis in the case? Understand the cause for decline in sales. Did you find that statement? I couldn't find. Is there anything like that? In the first paragraph, I didn't find any cause. I have analyzed this as an evaluation case study also. Okay, Howard gives this as a diagnostic case because in the next 4 or 5 pages, when you go into the deeper, right? So that's what exactly it is. He wants to understand the cause of decline in sales. In 1986, it has declined, right? So CEO wants to understand that as well as he wants to now understand the global picture into the long-term strategy. Otherwise, if I don't understand why I'm going down, in the larger, with reference to a larger scenario, maybe I become invisible. I'm not even existing, right? So this is a pure diagnostic case. You can evaluate this as an evaluation scenario also. Okay, so evaluation always precedes some decision, right? And sometimes evaluation helps you in problem diagnosis also. So they are all close-knit cases, but it helps you the moment you are aware of this classification. It helps you to better argue with evidences. That's the key thing. The problem decision, problem diagnosis. Those with the main character does not know why something is happening. The moment you feel this, for example, the 1980 client, we don't know why it happened. We are doing well, right? Without understanding this, if you start evaluating so many other factors, the big picture of case and all that, maybe you may not land anywhere. Right? So when we don't know why some certain things have happened and needs to understand why, then it's a diagnosis. The whys should come. So the why is there still. Okay, he has to understand something there. Maybe the entirety of the case is built upon that. Why it has happened. Okay. Afterwards, maybe some. See, I told you, noise also will come into the picture, right? In a case study, noise also will come into the picture. The moment you have such kind of doubts in your mind, it means that you are reading the case very well. It must come. That's these kind of examples. It must come. There must be discussion. Okay, I told you I can cleanly evaluate this case as an evaluation scenario. It's quite possible, right? But the key decision in this is why that sales have declined. It seems to be the major scenario in the case. So that's why it is treated as a diagnostic case, right? We'll often open with an overview of the problem and introduce the main characters to figure out what are the causes, right? Same 2 tests apply to the decision. What does the main character have to do? What is the major uncertainty of the case? If some of you can dive deep into these kind of things and come up with one more scenario extra apart from decision, evaluation, and diagnostic. Seriously, group together some 3 or 4 people who are interested. You can write a HBR. I mean, you should try. That's how you can spend time usefully in the institution. You're not far off. Why do you think we cannot write? I cannot agree that. Right? So it's just a question of we seem that they're all things too far from us. It is not really. Not necessarily. So many information, so much of information is available. Can you think about hey, are these are the only 3 cases? It's not, right? Can I identify another core scenario which are important? Maybe at the end of your 3rd semester, after you have gone through all the cases, maybe you might find something which may not fit into any of these frameworks. If you do that, I'll be the happiest person. My job here is not to tie you with this. Okay. My job here is to give you a trigger for thinking. The moment you start thinking along this line, the way you handle your case will be 100%. Again, I'm not tying you with any of this. This is just giving you leads for your thinking. You may agree, you may not agree, you may have a better option. Please exercise. Part of a case study. Tom Claff, a member of NDL's board and a venture capital backer of the firm, offered his perspective. All venture capitalists believe in the company and in Jock and Rob. Yet, this is their 4th time back to the well kept capital when the money raised rounds are supposed to have been sufficient. Before the venture group puts in another 1 million, around 0.5 million, we must address the key issue. Is it just taking longer to prime the firm, or is there fundamentally wrong with the concept? This is just a small paragraph in a major case, okay, regarding venture capitalists. And what kind of, let's ask our first question. What is the main character have to do? Is this a decision? Because he has to take a decision whether it's a 1.5 or a 1 million. Is this evaluation? How many of you are going for evaluation? How many of you are going for decision? Decision to another 1 million or 1.5 million before puts decision. Evaluation of what? What is the subject of evaluation? How can Y be a subject? So if you say evaluation, the first thing you should assess is what is my subject of evaluation? Am I evaluating a movie? Am I evaluating Sriram? Am I evaluating somebody else? Am I evaluating a company or a state or a one? The subject of and my output of evaluation. Okay. So what is this? What does the main character have to do? This is a question, which standard question we are asking. So you take this torch here. What is the main character have to do? Some issue with the concept is not decision. Is it taking longer to prime the? What is the key issue in this company? Is it taking? Is it a regular growing pains, or is there something fundamentally wrong with the company? I need to now take a root cause analysis of this. Right? I need an analysis. I need to know why. This is the 4th time they are back into the well. Why every time the money raised in each of the previous ones supposed to have been sufficient? Now it is coming to the 4th time. Why they are doing like this? Is it concept itself, or is it really the regular organic growing things? I'm based to a causal analysis. See, causal analysis is extremely situation. Sometimes what happens, even in data analysis, okay, what we call causation is an earlier done, all of you are working, but are done in a boardroom, right? They write what is called a fishbone diagram. This is the effect. What are the causes? Causes could be this, causes could be this. They are the main arteries. And within this, these are the 3 or 4 people who are saying this, 2, 3 people are saying this, 2, 3 people are saying this, saying this. So in this, what is the root cause? Root cause could be in our case, regular growing pains, or it could be something fundamentally wrong with the concept. So I need to do this root cause. So unless I need to know my cause, I cannot invest my fund. What is the cause? Why they are every time they say it is insufficient? If I don't know the cause, the effect is same. Next time also the effect might be same. So I need to analyze this cause-effect relationship. This is what is also called causation. In businesses, okay, sometimes you do research. Some small things. Let us say, if I want to take a decision to acquire this organization or not, all major decisions in the company are preceded by business research. Some team will do tomorrow. You may be in those teams actually. Okay, and sometimes if you increase the salary by only 8%, what is the effect on the organization? HR might ask that team to do a kind of a research. Okay, they will call you random. Okay, maybe they will pose as somebody else, some management consultants and all that, right? Suppose if you give 8% salary, will you be happy? No, 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 I've done so much for the organization. What is the 8% you are talking? Even today, if I put my papers, I get 25%. Some discussions will come up. A lot of emotions will come out. They do some research, fundamental research, and then say, no, giving 8% is hazardous to the organization. We cannot be competitive. So this some research through survey, some HR survey has taken and started some analysis, statistical analysis, which you will all come to know in the research methodology class. Right? So everything, sometimes, most of the time, in businesses, we need so many effects are there for us. We need to know what is the real cause. So when you want to now do this causal analysis or causation, that's when the situation becomes a diagnostic or a root cause analysis. Has been asked to provide more funding. He, along with other investors, believe, but one round of funding was. Problem is startup slow progress, and as a prudent investor, okay, Claflin seeks to diagnose the cause of causes. Okay, so only then he can make an informed decision about providing more funding. So, what is the major uncertainty of the case now? We have provided the answer to the first question. What is the have to do? What the main character has to do? Now, second question is what the major uncertainty in the case? What is the major uncertainty in that case? Sorry. They don't know, right? So that itself is an answer. You have to resolve that answer by doing this root cause. Sometimes what happens? The uncertainty throws you a more picture about whether it's an evaluation or a diagnosis diagnosis situation. Claflin does not know why startup is taking longer than expected. Okay, you must understand what are the causes and specifically whether they are normal, growing pains, or fundamental. There may be hundreds of cases. There may be 50 cases like this. You will come to know when you do a fishbone diagram like this, right? Or if you have a data analysis, advanced data analysis today, you can even with historical data, you can even decide on the causation. But that's always kind of contradicting the very controversial today. But it is possible to do to some extent. You say it's a research field, the field of analytics. We'll not go into that. But simple diagram like this will do. There are so many causes which will come, which can be considered as one or two arteries, which can be generalized, and then say it is a normal growing pain, or it is basically there is something fundamentally seriously wrong with it. So this is how you need to catch. Reading case by asking questions, right? I've given you already what an active reader, how an active reader means that you ask questions and look for answers in the case, right? They don't provide a clear-cut answers. How to actively read a case? How do you think an active no. What is active reading? We all know now. Okay. How do you think it should be done? Sometimes we intuitively understand things, but we may not be able to completely, define certain things orally, right? So how to actively read a case? Any idea?
And then we can ask this question. Then go through that. Once we know that which paragraph having it,
Exactly.
so that we can go back again and
Very nice. You should have questions in mind. And evaluating data and all that. Right? Look for. You should know what to look for. Key points when you make it, you should know exactly what to look for. If it's a decision, if it's evaluation, if it is diagnostic. In this case, what are the let us say in the simple case of the investor's problem, okay, you can note down 5-6 points which he has to understand before even he comes to the day. We don't know anything about the case yet. Okay. So much of discussion is quite possible even within small paragraph. The moment it comes to your mind, you will not go wrong in your case. Most of the time, your analysis will be perfect. Okay, more or less all the cases. Okay, this is a framework. Analysis, how to analyze decision scenario cases. How to do an active reading is what analysis of decision has 6 distinct elements. Identification of the required decision, review of identification options, criteria selection, criteria based analysis, recommended decision, proposed. Now it looks like a very logical sequence of statements, right? Here, whatever we have done, it could be the same thing. Let us say decision 1. What are the criteria for this? What are the criteria for this? Or it could be same set of criteria. I have 3 decisions. Decision 3. What are the effects? What are the effects? What are the effects? What else it says? This is criteria based analysis for each decision. Sometimes what happens even in data analysis, some features will have more influence on the outcome. Okay. So you need to know about this. Some criteria are more, they will have more weightage. Okay. So you need to do a criteria based analysis. See which is having a more weightage. So it looks like a logical sequence of statements. And then recommend a decision. And afterwards is the proposed action, because the decision should not end in decision itself. Okay, you need to give out in your writing. Basically, when you are writing about the case, if you recommend a particular decision, you need to give the proposed actions also. Okay, so please make sure that that happens. Somewhere in the case, this is what we have told already. Case is built around a decision scenario. We know how to identify this. These are all the logical sequence of statement, no matter whether it is a decision or an evaluation. Diagnostics will slightly change. Now, review of decisions. Decisions will always have options. They might be binary. Okay, so you can go with that. What is a criteria? Okay, how do you define criteria in the context of a case? Little bit of information. Basically, when you say criteria, how do you define a criteria? It's a question again. What should I think about when making the decision? That becomes a criteria. It's very difficult to define what a criteria is. Criteria is something I think about. But when you, what should I think when making the decision is a criteria, right? The criteria is, for example, no criteria, irrelevant criteria is a waste of time, vulnerable to recommending a decision without proper. So you should know what should I think about when making the decision becomes your criteria. Right? That is the decision of the definition of criteria. Decision criteria should be relevant to decision, relevant to the case evidence. Mind you, evidence is extremely important, because if you want to write your own about your own knowledge, right? Case is not required. So you are analyzing the bounded by the boundaries of the case, right? So you want to make certain assumptions, certain your own this one, you need to write explicitly. In the end, last what happens when you're asked about what are the recommendations for the CEO, then you can use your domain knowledge and bring it into the case. Here such time when you analyze the case, your domain knowledge, your biases, everything have to be kept away from. Okay. So depending on how what recommendation and what decisions, the last two elements in that you can bring in your domain knowledge. Okay. Limited to minimum necessary for making a sound decision. There may be so many noise in the system. So accordingly, your task will be to identify top criteria. That is those that are most helpful in debating what you need to. So that's what we decided. Some criteria will be more helpful than others. Sometimes there will be a lot of noise. Even when you do a diagnostic, these are all sometimes noises. People will just like that raise that this is important, that is important. Right? Even in the case also it will be there. Have you attended any such meeting where this kind of an analysis with fishbone diagrams are attended? A lot of noise will be there. Right? Okay. What is your experience? Yeah. No, I'm not asking number of. I mean, how do you feel inside sitting? Whether there is more noise, more signal? Exactly.
Get the requirement failure is there.
Okay.
And it will have been not the design is a problem. All throws in various perspectives.
Yeah.
And at last we'll decide like how this should not be leaked in further.
Yes.
How that this type of thing.
Exactly. So what happens? A lot of these branches will come, as he says. People will start. It's a blame game. Most of the time, nothing wrong. Okay, as long as you're inside the room, nothing wrong. I feel this is wrong. I feel this is wrong. I feel this is wrong. Then there will be some defensive approaches. Documents will come, right? And afterwards, this will be taken out. So there are some things will be given more weightage. As a result of this evaluation, all your learnings, how to avoid this. So we were discussing about why, right? And the moment a lot of whys will come, these are all the action items for different stakeholders, right? This is how it happens. So again, keep in mind we need to always when we discuss even about these things, okay, can it be the cause we need to really prove that inside your boardroom also you need to prove the real cause effect relationship. So important point in this is identify the criteria that are most helpful inside the case. Also don't start if you start doing like this, okay, think out all possible things, every paragraph in the case will be a problem. So you need to set your eyes on identifying the top criteria for your decision. In the RIM case, what do you think was the top will be the top criteria for it? The very first case, decision making case, RIM versus the present. Sorry? No, that's a one. What do you think is the top criteria for this?
Cost.
Cost is one criteria.
The drawbacks of the existing customers.
Yes. Customer dissatisfaction. Benefits of RIM. Benefits of RIM. Again, it might be but how do you overweigh this? I feel cost and customer dissatisfaction are the main reason. Say, first of all, why did you go for the design of a new grommet? Right? There must be some problem. It could be possible that there are new technologies available and I made something ready from the CTO's office. This is ready. Right? So that time the approach is different. Here, customer dissatisfaction is there in the present. Maybe those customers will move out if you don't change it. Right? So the top criteria for him, cost. This is a huge cost base. Maybe it may take 3 years for him to even break even. right? So the top criteria for him will be customer dissatisfaction versus cost. This is normally what happens in case of top criteria. It will be a trade-off. Okay, it is never simple. So if you have to take a top, it's almost like a trade-off. If I do this, this will fall. If I don't do this, this will. So if that is the case, all the three things will be a top criteria for you to make a decision. Right? So that's how you should identify. What's criteria-based analysis? The analysis of a decision directed by criteria examines. For example, these are all the criteria which we did. So there has to be detailed cost-benefit analysis in the with reference to RIM and with reference to the present. Right? That's how you go for. And each customer dissatisfaction. If we stay with this, what happens? Are those customers really important to us? Suppose if they are not really important, sometimes it happens. Maybe some customers are saying in our customer survey or when I talk to them, nice to have features. Sometimes once in a or 2 years, some kind of a water seeps into my cabin. I don't mind wiping it once. Product is great. Are you going to change it? No, we're not going to. Right? So customer dissatisfaction cannot be just rating of 1 to 10. Mind you, when you go for customer rating, don't go with these figures. I have seen many cases. Suppose because of friendliness or whatever it is, okay, they will give you 10 out of 10 in front. Right? When they want to reorder, they will think twice because there is definitely problem with your product solution. So they will not come back. They will give you fabulous. You're a nice person. You're done very well. Your organization of people are very friendly, great people, great organization. They will say, but time of reordering, they will not. Right? So customer dissatisfaction has to be very clearly assessed. And in all the case studies, okay, wherever customer dissatisfaction comes in, please pay particular attention to why they are dissatisfied. Apart from all these emotional things, that you are great and all that is fine, but why are you not reordering? It is most important point. So in this case, the criteria are cost and customer dissatisfaction. Once you have findings of all your criteria, take a step back and see what decision recommendations they seem to support most strongly. Findings, different criteria often conflict with each other, requiring you to make a judgment of what the criteria. I'm supposed to close it fast. I don't want to miss something. Okay, proposed action in that list. Okay, take action planning seriously. It's a skill every bit as important as decision making. Okay, in the end, if time permits, you can take an example. How do you evaluate an evaluation scenario? Okay, this is a situation, a deeper understanding. This is a repeat statement, team, product, etc. Okay, what do I need? I need what is the output of the evaluation? It comes often the worth. Okay, that means it comes. What comes out of the evaluation is worth, value, performance, effectiveness, outcome, or consequences. Okay, it could be even subject of a decision. So I am evaluating a particular decision. Also, it's quite possible in an evaluation. So I need to suppose if I am evaluating the decision outcome of a decision or effectiveness of a decision, it becomes an evaluation, right? So that's how it should be. Okay, this is again the same thing. There is no other identification of the subject. What subject I am evaluating? Criteria, criteria-based analysis, overall evaluation, recommended action. Everything becomes the same. There is no difference. The desired understanding, knowledge to be gained from an evaluation. What do we get out of evaluation? Is the worth. Please note this down. Worth, value, outcome, consequences, or risks of the subject. Okay. So, was the marketing plan conceived by the band and its managers, right? UK-based sporting management, brilliant, or as some insiders say, suggested, another nail in the coffin of a dying music industry, right? So this is an evaluation question about the band's marketing plan. The missing knowledge is the potential or effectiveness of the unorthodox. Okay, so next is, you can look for criteria. I can skip all these things. We have discussed enough about this. I don't want to repeat it. Okay, so how to recognize the problem part of a decision scenario, sorry, diagnostic. basically effects. I told you in a decision diagnostic scenario, cause effect is the thing which you need to keep in mind. So what are the problems? Causes such as process, action, activities, effectiveness of a process, right? Understanding the case can be tricky. Considering what the main character have to do can help you identify the problem diagnosis situation. Some characters, for example, you're going through a product failure, right? So it becomes evaluation or diagnostic. Product has already failed. Right? You need to understand root causes of the product failure. So that can be. So I'll skip some of these things. What I wanted to show you was, I promised that I will show you that answers. Just give me a second. Meeting ID 906 084 1464. I'll share the screen. In the meantime, I will show you that. See, this is a small issue. It's an assignment. I just randomly picked because I'm not trying to pick the best or anything like that. Not have to share. Okay, this is a LinkedIn case study. Okay. This was an open question. Okay. Open question to analyze the case and as you feel, whether the decision and an evaluation or whatever. Okay. I'm just sharing it with you with permission. This is not an examination, this is an assignment, right? So what is the magnitude of the problem? Why did it happen? Who identified the problem? What were the root causes of the problem? What are the financial, non-financial impacts to LinkedIn? Okay. What could have LinkedIn done proactively to avoid the problem? What are the correct? These are the questions he asked in the beginning of the case. Okay. And again, I'm not sure about okay, possible causes. is the fact that evidence LinkedIn was using an outdated encryption method instead of up-to-date industry encryption. This is come in a very small part of case actually. It is again it's spread with nonce. So he identified that as the main thing, right? So how the cause contributed to the problem? The member passwords were only camouflaged and were easily detected. And then data breach episode, LinkedIn improved the password encryption. Right? So this is just how the evidence, the template. I will try to share it with you. This is how the template. He is basically using the template itself. What the definition of the problem with regard to evidence? What do you make out of it, and what is your conclusion about it? Okay, so that three templates which is freely available on the web. So what I will do is, in order to make sure that it reaches all of you, I don't have everybody's email ID. WhatsApp group. Okay, I'll send it to Arvind. Arvind is a part of that group, right? So I will request Arvind to just forward it to the group. There are 3 templates, all the PDF, I think PDFs are generated, send it to you on WhatsApp, which you can use it across all the 3 decision course scenarios. Okay, so just an example I wanted to share it with you that majority of the students afterwards evidence-based action item, action plan, summary. So everything is written. Okay, this is an assignment case study about LinkedIn. Okay, so that is pretty much I wanted to share that with you. Is there anything missing? This you can ask. These are all. Okay, summary of reading guidelines. Just note down. First and last section. What do they tell you? Okay. What do they tell you about the course scenario? Take a look at other sections and exhibits to determine what information the case contains. Now is the time to think. What is the course scenario in the case? What does the main character have to do? What the major uncertainty? What do you need to know to accomplish? What the main character has to do to resolve the uncertainty? List out things that you know about the situation. Don't worry about being wrong, because strict opinion, nothing like wrong. So it's your position. Be bold enough to take a position, but with evidence in it. In order to feel somebody is guilty or not guilty, you must have hooked up evidence. So this is how you should analyze business cases. These are all the summary. Okay. There are some of the references which I made in order to, because I told you my motivation for this class is my frustration. So next time tomorrow, maybe after 2 semesters, okay, your faculty must tell they should not, they're at least not frustrated. Okay. At least I want to hear that. Yeah, don't you think it's meaningful? Without any framework, without any structures, going through blindly and verbatim reproducing the same thing in the class. At least some thinking it will give us, because earlier there was no analysis. Now we know that we have to analyze a case, right? Before answering, you need to analyze a case, and this structure will help you to analyze the case. So again, don't get bound by it, but if you can think better, always. So that's it. I wanted to share it with you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. See you later. Hello, one second.